Trying something new today after last week's problem streaming. The chat stopped functioning after half an hour into the stream, I believe, and I was not aware of that. So I'm trying something new. I should be online on Twitch and YouTube. I'll check. So if you guys could remind me with your chat messages whether I'm having connection issues or not, that would be appreciated. But I think it's good to go. I'll check a few things too. Twitter. I don't think we should be live on Twitter, but we should get this message. Good. Okay, so today's topic is I'm starting a new game, very similar to Hitman Go. This is a turn-based strategy or puzzle. Strategy is usually used in a very large term here. This isn't grand strategy game like Civilization. There's no exploration, sometimes you have those elements too. However, you may still strategize in each level how you want to beat that level. So the premise of this game is that you have a board and you can move between these designated points. For example, if your player moves from this point to this point, this security guard will see you, and that will be the end of the game. So in this case, looking at this level, I'm thinking the solution for this would be, okay, we go around, there's a stone here, and I believe, I haven't played this level, but I'm guessing. So this is the premise of the game. You throw this rock, I think orthogonally. So maybe if you threw it here, it creates enough noise to cover 3x3, an area as large as 3x3 points. So this guy will hear the noise and will come and investigate. So while it's coming, 1, 2, 3, can move 1, 2, 3 here, and his back will be, or his face will be, facing this way. So we'll just walk behind them and get to our target. Sometimes you have to assassinate people in this game, or there are obvious obstacles like this sniper is this is the line of sight for the sniper. So if you walk right into it, that's the end of the level. However, the game gives you this chance that as soon as you move, it assumes this security guard is also moving with you, so the line of sight is broken, so you'll be safe. But from this point on, you can either go back or forward, because if you move this way, you'll still be in the line of sight. So there are some different ways to beat each level. Sometimes you have to go back and forth, and that actually is useful because you want to wait for one particular guy's, they have to go to the end of their path and come back. So you're kind of counting the number of tiles they are moving, or the points, whatever. So going back and forth may be part of the strategy as well. So I'm gonna work on a version of this game involving robots, some narrative elements, some space theme, something like that. That being said, with the new setup that I have no way of knowing whether anything is happening in the chat because the OBS interface now doesn't show me the chat. I gotta first establish that. So this is gonna be interesting. So according to Restream, I'm streaming to a custom server, but that took away the chat interface in OBS. This is my stream. How do I see? I guess as dumb as it may sound, go to your own stream and look at the chat. But the problem is the whole point of using Restream is so that the chat messages could be consolidated. Hi in advance. Hi Volkan. I'm just describing the current problem that I have. So I'm using Restream. Well, I always use Restream, but I'm no longer using their plugin, I guess, in OBS because they asked me to apply a custom source. Took away the interface, so I want to resolve this before I go in fully. Stream. What? Okay, I'm already logged in. I also see the delay. Solid 5-6 seconds. What I'm doing here. How do we get to see overlay restream chat on? Yeah, this is what used to be in OBS. Download the restream. Okay, so it's gonna be a separate. I just logged in though. Okay. Problem is, if anyone is trying to help me out, where would they be typing? They would be typing hi again. I'm trying to sort out my stream interface problems. I want to access a central chat interface so that the messages from both Twitch and YouTube would be available. We are talking about a chat application. I tried to download it. Okay, let's just download it. I don't need to be logged in for this, sorry. Open in browser. Okay, maybe this will do. Yes, let's enable. Okay, gotcha. So I'll just move this to the side, to the other monitor. Okay. Well, thank you for bearing with me. So we'll do the installation some other time. So thank you. So that's music, that's fine. This is me, not needed. So, okay, recap. So today's stream is about, I'm gonna work on a new game based on Hitman Go, as I was describing early on. I'll recap again. So this game is kind of like a board game. You move between points and there are different ways to beat each level. I want to create something similar with a different theme. The Hitman game doesn't have a narrative. So you simply play the levels without any story. But I want to bring story elements to my game. Maybe not necessarily like multiple endings, but still, you know, some meaningful dialogue, that there's some imminent danger, or, you know, you want to engage people besides like, oh, let's just solve puzzles. Why? Well, maybe because you want to have fun, but well, maybe you just like the story as well. You may as well be rewarded with some story elements. Hey, Artbean. So last week I missed all your messages due to a problem in the chat. I noticed like half an hour into the stream there was something with the connection. I checked it, everything looked okay, but I think it messed up the chat relay. So your messages, like everybody's messages, piled on in the last 15 minutes of the stream. It was a flood of messages. So cool, man. So if you have questions before I go deep into the development of MR.E or mystery, now might be a good moment. Cool. So I'm gonna give this name mystery, as if you are solving a mystery, but also we will get to know who MR.E is. Maybe I'll mention a few things here and there during this stream and the next ones. This is not okay. So far, what I have done, I hope it will be catchy. So I've done some stuff and I'm kind of trying things, refining things. I may just, you know, trial and error. So my goal today is to have the first level done. For that, I want to introduce player mechanics or movement mechanics. So if this is our character, there's a lot of stuff here that is cluttering the floor. We don't need the pod. We don't need the hydropod yet. Let's also tidy up the eye probe. Okay. I'm having trouble with the global illumination here and there. It works to a certain extent. Then it blacks out like this, which is, I think, calculating in the background, but I don't quite know what's going on. Let's turn this on. Okay. So this is gonna give us some indication. So yeah, I was expecting to see some colors here, even though lights are on. Well, I just made it worse. Okay, let's just turn on directional light so we are doing stuff. Okay, so the first level will be, we want to move our guy to this tile and then to this tile. And we will say, okay, well done. That will be the first level. Sort of self-tutorial. It will be obvious enough that you will want to move your character. And to entice the player, this morning I was working on some kind of like a marker system that is indicating which direction is movable. So for that, I created some basic markers that I will probably refine in the next 5-10 minutes in here. But essentially, let's look at it from above. So if you want to move, if the player can move forward, this is what's going to happen. It's going to sort of pulse like that. And we have the similar animations. So I'm thinking this player, being aware of where it is, it's going to look up its neighbor tiles, and gonna say, well, maybe I can move this way and this way, so 2 animations will fire, something like that. So right now, let's see, all the markers have some circular part here, but they overlap, so it kind of looks awkward. Oh, as a starter, I think I'll go and refine some of those. For that, I have to open the Blender file. If I could find it. It is under miscellaneous player marker. So maybe this is too much. Yeah, we should conclude the arc somewhere here. So yeah, there will be a little bit Blender work today. Let's get rid of 8 vertices here, 8 more here. Something like this. I'm not going to center this because that's the whole idea. Our player will be centered. The pulsing will kind of start from this area. I just installed. I see. I thought I installed the latest version, which actually should have remembered my shortcuts. I do not have them. Okay, GLTF export. Selected objects. Where do we go from here? We go to Documents, GitHub, MR.E, Models, Miscellaneous. Let's bookmark this guy. Let's override it. Back in Godot. This is something that happens in Godot. For some of you who maybe notice the same thing too, when you export and overwrite an existing model, Godot will do that update thing. However, it will not visually update it. So for that, sometimes this works. You switch to another tab, you come back, and sometimes it updates. Sometimes saving it updates when you go back and forth. If nothing works, then this helps. Re-import, go back and forth, and of course that didn't do. Last resort, we just open the GLB file like this, open anyway, close it. As you can see, it's actually updated. It doesn't update it in where it was imported. Now it will be updated. So essentially I've done nothing but just frantically open and close things. So that's what it is. So you may think you exported to the wrong folder. Was it read-only, not writable file? No, none of that crazy shit. Just this kind of simple shit. So, okay, let's run the animation. Pulse backwards or forward. So here's a question though. This structure that I have, I guess the smile is for my colorful comment. Yeah, sometimes I get pissed really, like for simple things like this, because when I'm already busy with like solving problems, simple things like this should not be in the way. Life is too short for that kind of thing. So I have 4 animations here. The question that I'm asking myself now is, I want to play, possibly 4 animations at some point. Because I might be at a junction where, say, imagine I'm here, I can move in 4 directions. So I should be able to see 4 markers pulsing. So let's just write the dumbest code ever. By the way, you can still see the old script Hitman GD. This is gonna turn into play. Let's do that too. Rename. Player. Now garbage. Okay, player. So let's just do in onReady. Excuse me. Animation player play. Pulse forward, something like this. Let's run the game. So forward is this way. Kind of have to. There are a lot of decisions to make. Right now, let's see if we can play forward and backward. We cannot. So when it only plays one at a time. That's what I was suspecting. Blending animations is possible. You use animation tree for that. Or tree player. Yeah. So we want to play multiple animations. Interestingly enough, the solution may be simple. Okay, this is gonna be awkward, but let's say we don't have a forward concept yet. We just have a marker concept. I'm going to save this. Cannot save the branch of an already instance scene. Oh yeah, because I imported this model. Okay, go for it. It's a player marker. This is what I want to do. So the animation player will actually come into this structure. This is just a player marker. This has no notion of forward yet. This is the graphic part. This is animation. There is not going to be a directionality here. We'll just call it pulse. I believe we can rename the animation here. Rename, it's just pulse. And I think what I'm gonna do, I'm going to find which one. Which one is this? The forward one? Okay, I'm going to remove at least 3 anyway. So forward is not. Oh, it's also not finding the marker anyway. It's a bit dumb. I gotta carry these values over to circle 01. I think this is something that's gonna come in Godot 4. They are introducing, let's say like you have these values for this object that exists in this scene. But I want to apply the same values to another object. You kind of retarget your key points. So right now this target is wrong. So for this, I'm going to remove everything. I'll just rename this pulse. Start here. This is garbage. Property track, circle 01 or 001. We want to move what? We want to move translation. The translation will move here. So it's 0.6 seconds, okay, or 0.6 seconds. I want to move this forwards maybe this much. it in, and here it goes back to 0. Loop, it's looped because of copy and paste. This object carried it. If I remember, it should be cubic. Okay, and also I'll have to check this again because I don't remember what I did. That doesn't look too bad. And I think I did something like this the opposite way. Is it possible to use two identical scenes with uniform variable? Two identical scenes with uniform variable. I don't think I understand what uniform variable is. That sounds like shader code, like affecting animation player. But I can switch. You could, yeah, use it. So that's actually what I'm doing right now. I'm going to create one scene that is only responsible for moving this forward and backward like this. So there's going to be one pulse animation. So this is going to be player marker. And instead of animating 4 things here with an animation player, I'm going to replace these with 4 instances of this scene. So then they are, each scene is kind of going to self-animate itself. Pulse forward, pulse backward, yeah. So I will label them, I will label the instances, but I will not create 4 unique scenes. So I think it'll be kind of what you are saying in effect very soon. Since this is related to player, I'm going to put it here. I may as well call it mark. Yeah, let's call it player marker. Maybe I will have an enemy marker thing with a different buzzing thing. So assuming this is technically done, if not visually pleasing, this is what I'm suggesting. Let's just disable those. Inside here, I'm going to put marker. So this is what I'm saying. This is going to be forward. Put 1 here so I can paste. And then I'm going to duplicate this. Again, this notion of forward, backward is kind of a moot point because I don't really know how it relates to the coordinate system yet. This is of course not going to work. But at least, let's just copy this, comment this out. Since this is still a proof of concept, what I'm going to do is, it's looping, but let's auto start too. So since this scene is imported twice into here, let's just shamelessly call this backwards. Okay, it's run. So we have 2 instances auto playing their animations. So this is, I think, what you were describing. And yeah, that's what it is. But we don't want to autoplay all the time. We want to play it when we want it. Now, here is our, here's an architectural choice or decision. Do we want to write script here for player marker? Only to say, you know, introduce a play function. So whenever play function is triggered, basically it passes it down to animation player. Or here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to create another player marker. It's going to be awkward, but I hope I'll pull it off. So this is what we like. Okay, so copy this, shove it under here, paste, and then let this be the root. So this is now garbage. And then we come here and basically we can copy this, but instead of that, I'm going to move player marker inside here, because all we need is the visual instance, which is this. Now this animation is still wrong because it's targeting circle 01, but I found a smart way to overcome the challenge by changing the scene with a text editor. So player marker is here. I'm going to overwrite the old player marker with the new one, which is actually animation player. Now let's go and find file here. Let's open this with code. Because it's a text file, no. So you can actually see the circle 001 translation. This is the old target. It's also this looks wrong. Wait a second. Almost correct, but kinda wrong. But how could it be wrong? Animation is a root node, ID 1. Here's a resource. This is the resource ID 1. So animation player will have sub-resources child. This is correct. Here's animation node. This part is iffy. Unless... Okay, there's some residual stuff there, but all I want to do is this. Back to Godot. The animation player will use player marker as its target. So this will be replaced. In fact, in both cases, I will replace it with this. This is the problem part. Like this is the this should not exist at all. In fact, I'm just gonna say bye. You know, we don't need that sub-resource ID 2. Let's be careful. Sub-resource 2. This reset should be set to something, but I think I will override it and say 1. Back in Godot, it's gonna say, do you want me to reload? Please do so. Let's click animation player. This is still wrong. And this is when you reload, because it's a typical Godot not updating stuff problem. There you go. Here, player marker. Let's play this. Of course, shit doesn't work. Because I thought I would be smart about this, but apparently I was too smart for my own good. I did this morning. Probably messed up something. Anyway, let's just do it again. It's good practice. There's no other stuff here, right? Let's just close this for now. Pulse. Player marker. It's good to go. Animation player. Add track. Property track. Player marker. Translation. They say practice makes it perfect or tedious. So, keyed in. This is 0.1. Done. I believe this was slightly like this, and this one was like this. Play. That looks decent enough, and we also need to do this cubic. In fact, linear actually look better. Or is there a difference? Leave it. Okay, this is done. So now animation player is not going to be called like that, so we'll do marker here. This could both be marker. You could nest it as long as they are not at the same level. Meaning you could have the same name in structures as long as they are not siblings. So back to player. So I already labeled them forward and backward. So these two are no longer the old player marker, but the new one with this. So what we can now do is this. Instead of animation player, we will do forward play. Here we will do backward play. This will run, except it didn't. I don't even see them visually. It's concerning. So markers forward play pulse. This actually works like a charm. As far as the code goes, we have some stuff here. Node not found. Oh, Godot. Any ideas, guys? If this wouldn't work because it's relative, why would it let me select a track? Okay, don't play yet. Just display them. I don't even get to see them. That's also a problem. Yet here I get to see them. Did you import the correct thing, sir? Yeah. Marker. Okay, now something is promising here. Okay, forward, play, pulse. Still not good. I don't get debugger error. I don't have the visual response that I would like to see. However, it's not something that but at least I get to see it here, right? So that's okay. There's something wrong here because I should be able to see. I know what's happening. Yeah, I was too smart for my own good. The fact that I don't see visibility icon here. This is imported, but I cannot see into the child, like the nested nodes here. That's what's going on. Everything that is spatial will have, like, let me just look at the documentation. I want to give the most correct explanation of this. There is actually there are servers running inside Godot. They are called servers. They are kind of like major code chunks that are doing. So there is a visual server, if I recall. So this is responsible for anything visible. So they did not make animation player inheriting from visual server. You don't actually get to see the animation player itself. It animates other things that are visible, but by itself animation player is not visible. So I was hoping I would make this the root node and I would just trigger a method like this. Go find the root animation player, play its pulse, which is targeting this. But even though this is visible, this guy is not, which doesn't make it visible here. So we don't actually get to see it. Like even if we don't play, we don't get to see it. That's the problem. Whereas before, I was able to see it. So this was a waste of time, but well, I learned something. Don't make animation tree root unless you want to back up. Better statement. If you nest visual elements inside animation tree node, they will not be rendered. So that's the outcome of this exercise. Okay, so F this. How do we recover from this? Well, this has to be reversed, sadly enough. I think so. So this is gonna be the scene root. Of course, you cannot do that. This has to be kind of its own scene again. So spatial, gotcha. This is going to be called player marker in the end, or just marker, doesn't matter. This is the root, and these two can now be at the same level. However, why is this showing forward marker? Like, I think Godot is still not quite picking up the changes here. There is no notion of forward here. As far as this animation player is concerned, there is no forward link. So yeah, we'll go this way. So I was hoping to keep it this way so that I wouldn't have to redo this, hoping this would work, because if I child this, I have to retarget it. This looks sloppy as hell, but kind of whatever, right? Okay, let's bind a script to this. Player marker empty. Let's go with this, and we say func play. This is just gonna have play. We are gonna have player marker play. So save. Here we now have the visual clue. This is inherited or inheriting that. Let's go check the level 001 to see the visual feedback. I just want to see that. I want to rotate this. What's happening now? Should be able to rotate it. It's the same damn thing. I'm seeing the visibility icon here because that's changing the visibility of this, but this will never be affected. This should be out. So is Godot smart enough that if it knows I'm targeting and when I'm changing the target here, is it updating? Let's see. No, it's not smart. We do this again, guys. Sorry. This is kind of a big learning curve, I suppose. And animation player. You don't deserve a custom name. You are just an animation player from this point on. You disappointed us greatly. You've been naughty this year. No Christmas gifts for you, sir. Let's do this. I'm pretty sure this is the list of my worries for today, but loop, leave it. Marker, done. Animation player, done. Go back to players. Let's delete this again. There you go. I get some visual feedback. Now I can actually properly rotate this and see it. Let's call this backward. Now inside player script, do I think they made animation players smarter? I hope so. Well, they promised they at the very least, I know they are doing that retargeting. Hey man, Manglo from Twitch. Long time no stream, I suppose. I've been away for a long time. I've been writing my book. It should be on the right, top right. Yeah, I've been gone. So how are you? So let's do the forward here, pulse, and then, well, I guess this hasn't changed. Grinding away, yes, that's expected 0. Okay, because we don't have any methods or arguments. Play itself will automatically trigger pulse, and we have the pulse. Okay, so this took how long? 45 minutes-ish? No, 35, long enough. Grinding away is the right answer. It's not the most correct answer, but it's probably true enough for most of us. So now we can play 4 animations at the same time. In fact, I'm just going to play forward and decide the directions now. So by forward, although I don't want to make this statement because I think I'll be wrong. There will be constants forward. See, I was wrong. Yeah, because I was reading about this the other day on a forum post, possibly Reddit, that how forward is the wrong axis in Godot. Because most people think it's the X. Well, okay, in 3D world. Whereas forward here is the -1, it's the Z-axis. So what does this mean? Z -1. So Z positive is actually going this way. Z minus is this way. However, even when I position my player character this way, well, actually I should. Okay, thinking about this, then describing it they are equally challenging tasks. So, assuming this is kind of the okay way, right? This guy that I have selected, this is mislabeled anyway as hell. But let's assume this says forward. Forward means minus Z. This is already facing the wrong way, kinda. And then when we come here, it's a whole other game here. And I'm thinking whether I actually rotated this. No, this is all 0. Because I'm now going to start the movement mechanics, I gotta know what I'm talking about when I say backward, forward, or are we going to talk about coordinates as like the source of truth? Which brings me to another point. Assume this dude has a face, and for our immediate, well, as far as our immediate needs are concerned, let's say he's facing this way. So he's going to move from this point to this point. And maybe he's going to make a right turn. So he's going to face this way. So then what's the forward for him? Forward in the sense that he's facing this way. So then kind of makes sense because this forward pointer or marker is forward this way, but now it's forward this way. So from this static world point, the notion of forward is changing. Of course, we would like to imagine forward for the player to go forwards. But if this is the forward vector, this vector is the right vector. That is also changing. So I see a new name, Denalid TX. I think I see the first time. Which viewer? In 2D, most engines use X and Y, horizontal, vertical. Yeah, in Godot, it's also the Z-axis is is not conventionally following what other engines are doing. So, yeah. So this is something folks were discussing the other day. Where this one. Forward, a lot of people think it's going to be +1 here, whereas it's actually -1 in Z. Actually, these two are confusing because forward is like, why is it not plus? It's more intuitive, right? Let alone it's in Z. But I understand because Z is the depth, sort of like forward, backwards. You're going deeper or away. That's comprehensible. Up and down is also sometimes confusing people because they expect the Z to be up and down. But we all know that the X and Y is actually the monitor and Z is the depth. As I said, the forward and backward is the depth. So that's somewhat comprehensible, but the sign here is kind of confusing. Well, but when I say it is not necessarily maybe confusing for me, but I'm kind of, just conveying the messages that I'm reading. And in Blenders, it is up and down, exactly. So that's why people feel extremely confused about this when they transfer between applications. And in fact, in Blender, when you export your GLTF file, this is automatically checked out for you. That it actually transforms your Z up in Blender to plus Y as up. You could also pick minus Y as up. So then you are basically flipping the direction. That's a whole other notion, but here in Blender, Z is up. So when this transformed into Godot, these coordinate systems are realigned. So you get to see it. Right now, this is flat on the floor, right? When you export this, Godot also considers it flat, but the axes they are kind of redone for you. Right click was selected. Yeah, Blender has its own issues. I never understood why they kept that functionality for so long. Like, in what universe right click is? I don't get it. I'm not all for like, let's do every single thing users want, but I doubt there have been millions of people preferring right click as the the selecting tool. To build 2D flat in the engine, end up with right click is king. Right. So where do we go from here? Less interference and misclicks when going fast. Interesting, yeah. Well, to each their own, I guess. And luckily now Blender offers both, or I mean, has been offering both choices for a long period of time. Nevertheless, where do I go from here is the next question for me. So I want to maybe lay down some markers here and too, but if I recall, I already have some script here. Yeah, okay. I did some work. Today is what, Thursday? Sometime last week, over the weekend. If I have tiles here, this already looks like prototype, but there was a prototype prior to this prototype, and the tiles had click logic. I believe I removed that. They are just graphic pieces right now. Yeah, but I could click a tile and instruct the player character to move to that tile between. So that is done. So I changed my mind. I don't want to click tiles because the player can move only one tile at a time. So there's no point clicking a few tiles away. So it's basically almost no pathfinding. Like you will know which tiles you can move to, hence these markers. And so in other words, the behavior that I'm expecting here is I'm gonna click on this tile, let's say, and I'm doing sort of click or mouse down, drag forward like this, which will trigger the move forward behavior. Something like that. Now that's actually getting rid of the whole forward, backward, the whole vector transformation mess. Later on, this is a big if. If I introduce Steam Deck controllers, just reading the message, why the right click was the logical choice. Yeah, that would be nice if you could find that interview. If it's on YouTube, maybe paste the link. I do recall something like that too, though. They were discussing it. So if I actually do Steam Deck or some other controller, so in the input map here, for example, control device has this notion of what is left, what is right. So how do these correspond to the vectors? And also when the player's face is rotating too. So when we say turn right, this guy's face looking this way, it's going to turn right. And then when we say forward, does it mean forward facing this way, move forward this way, or this was the old forward? These are the interesting questions for me right now. So for the time being, I'm going to create markers here. I believe I have something like dot. I used to. I do not have dot anymore. Okay, we are gonna have another marker. Let's just go create it in Blender. Let's delete everything. Focus on top. So this is 1 by 1, 1, 1, 1. So we need to create something a lot smaller than that. Circle. 32 is fine. The radius is too much. Maybe 0.3. And I'm gonna give this solidifier. It's going to have 5. And then I'm going to apply that and do bridging. F. 3. Delete the faces. I messed up something at some point, didn't I? How did I do this morning? Because I did it for the player marker. Why is it adding this here? Let's catch up with chat. The bind control input to things like move players south. Yeah, there is probably going to be some kind of central reference system, south or absolute forward, that kind of thing. Bridge edge loops. I think I tried it. This one. Nope, that's the right one. Yeah. I thought the shortcut for that was B. Did they change that? Interesting. Anyhow, this is kind of done. So let's give this a material. This material will be, I don't know, marker material. Base color will be white, which is not totally white. It's off-white. Now it's perfectly white. Let's go to export. This guy. History. Models, miscellaneous. This is I'm going to call this node marker because I'm going to assume the walkable floor tiles will be nodes in a graph. So we'll do going. Yeah. Oh, you use space and then type. I see. You search and then type the short. Yeah. How they change the space default bind to place stuff? Yeah, yeah. The search, the shortcuts are so different now. Yeah, I get confused too. I actually feel extremely confused because I wrote a book that covers Blender and Godot. The book covers Blender's version 2.93. While I was writing the book, Blender released 3.1, 3.2, I think at some point. Kind of got outdated at some point, really. It was kind of it's always a catch-up game. The technology moves so fast. By the time anyone finishes writing a book, shortcuts are different. The menus are kind of differently laid out. The challenge. Nevertheless, the information in the book is still valid as far as core concepts go. So, shameless plug, go buy it. This is done. So I exported it. Let's save this inside here. This is a separate folder. Now inside Godot, do your thing. So I'm going to have, I think I already started that as a path. So this is going to have some markers, node markers. For now, didn't I export it? Where the hell did I export this? Models, miscellaneous. Okay. Explain yourself. Node. Under miscellaneous, I should have node marker GLB. I can see it here. It is the folder. Okay, Godot. The famous, it's just exported, but I cannot comprehend you have to re-import it. Okay. So guys, this thing could give you high blood pressure sometimes, so it's important nonsense sometimes. So we have a marker. This is kind of buried under the floor, and I'll explain why. For now, I'm just going to raise this up maybe 10 centimeters. Now it should be visible. Center it and duplicate it, move it here, and we'll probably have another marker right under our layer. For now, this is good enough. Now I will explain why we were not seeing marker when it was 0 in the Y. That's because when you import these, well, these floor pieces that I'm using, they are from an artist who goes by the name Coternius. Which was it? This one. So I'm using his package, and when you are using someone else's models, you will probably end up doing cleanup in Blender. Luckily, he gives the original Blender files here, so you gotta go and fix some stuff. Now, the least offending stuff sometimes is you have to apply the scale and rotation. In some of his earlier packages, I found a few leftover cases like that. In this new package, I didn't find anything yet, like of that sort. But let me just show you a few examples. This is not a major criticism. He had different reasons maybe to this, but with the basic floor piece here, the origin point is at the bottom, and the height of this floor piece is not the same height as some of the other ones, and also the origin point is slightly different in one or two of these. Now, ideally, the origin point should be at the top of the model for a floor piece. So when you lay it on the ground, anything that you put at Y0 looks like it's actually right on the floor. If the floor's origin point is at the bottom, there's going to be some height already applied. Then you have to move your player character. You have to compensate the Y as much as the floor piece's height. However, he designed his wall pieces so that the vertical part of the wall comes all the way down here. So when the light or the camera, you kind of want to see what's happening here where the wall piece meets the floor piece, then it will be a perfect match. If you move this guy below, then you will have sort of like this much gap right here, something like that. So you end up compensating all the other things too, which means you have to extend the bottom of the wall as tall as this piece, but leave the wall's origin point here. So there's going to be an extended part and the rest of the wall. So as soon as I realized that I would have to do a lot of work, I haven't started that yet. Right now, I'm assuming it's done, kinda. Which means I have to compensate these node markers by, you know, as tall as the floor pieces go. What it is. So this will be 0 in the end. It kind of doesn't matter for what we are doing right now. Now here's what we can do. We need to connect these two guys. Similar to what Hitman is doing. So we have these markers. We need lines. Now this is where things could also get interesting. It's tempting to think of these four markers as one tile, but essentially this is the tile here. So the marker is always at the center of each tile. So this sidewalk and this much like grass here, this patch, is the tile itself. In the middle there's a node marker. Modular stuff is fun when you realize you need to tweak all the bits you already made. Oh, definitely. So I actually stopped doing it at some point because, like, well, let me just do the programmatic parts first. Because most likely I will mess up something. Yeah, because it could be a never-ending thing. Like, I remember in one project I redid everything 3 times. I thought it was wrong, changed it. Then I decided it was actually okay in the first place, changed it again. Only to realize, no, I had to make these changes, but a different way. So it's kind of a moving target. Anyhow, so we now need a way to connect tiles or these nodes. This is similar to the discussion that I was having with the player character. So this is similar to what Manglo was saying. Is there going to be a concept of north, south, that kind of thing? Because as far as this tile is concerned, if this direction is north, maybe we'll say, well, you have a line like northbound and westbound. You do not have eastbound or southbound lines. Because what's the notion of forward here as far as floor piece is concerned? So we need to connect this guy to this guy. So what I'm about to do or suggest is only the visual layer. There is going to be a whole other technical layer. They may be merged later. In fact, the technical layer may indicate how the graphical layer will kind of do its job. But let me just break it down. So graphically speaking, maybe instead of having one node marker and 2 lines as siblings, maybe node markers should be smart enough that they also decorate their lines. So this is kind of similar to how I did the player marker here, right? So inside here, there is only one marker. It's always this direction. But by instancing this inside here, in fact, I'm actually going to delete this, and although it's still primitive, I'm going to call it this should be backwards, this should be right. I'm still going to call it human readable names. Okay. So for example, a marker is responsible for its kind of animation, and when we instance them, we rotate them, so they kind of gain purpose after the fact. So maybe node marker will be the same. It will always have this centerpiece. It may have one of the 4 possible lines, like this. It may be. So forward as a direction is always relative. It is. I think what I'm gonna do at some point, once I figure out the basic graphics stuff to do, I'm going to assume, yeah, right away I can see everything's kind of backward. I'm going to assume either X or Z as north, and then everything else will be deduced from there. Something like that. I think that makes sense, right? I think so. So by the way, how is your game going? You were building arenas and battlegrounds. Yeah, like that pick before. Which one? This one, I think you're talking. I think you must have mastered Unity right now, because if I recall, up left is mostly north, as I remember. You know, I think even in some games I've seen kind of like the center point of X said this is sort of north, but then that's a different. Like what I mean is like the layout is sort of skewed. They call this north instead of this north. It's not orthogonal, but it's sort of diagonal. Anyhow, that's a later concept. So for node marker, we need lines and we need some kind of logic. Let's start with a spatial node. Let's call this node marker. This may later be relabeled as node if we are gonna put this in a graph data structure. You're at the end stretch of AI module, okay. Cool. So if you have a playable demo, feel free to share in the chat. So inside here, I'm gonna include node marker. It should have some extensions from here to here, this way. I believe I might have written something like what I'm going to suggest at some point. Okay. Yeah, itch.io page, cool. Let's just bring it up. Oh, I see. I thought you gave the link to your. There's a link there, but it's going to homepage. So I thought you linked it to the page. If there's a page. New Year resolution, yeah. Before New Year, even before New Year, it's a good resolution, yeah. Can I find all the GD scripts here? Floor GD. I think this is the click on a floor piece. This is that special thing that I wrote. Floor GD. I might have deleted it because why not? Something I do all the time. Most likely I did delete it. Okay, doesn't matter. So what I'm suggesting right now is a new mesh instance. Why not? It's very old. Going to open it. I have not seen this. Interesting. Cool stuff. This is the arena I remember, yeah. Cool. Reloading, okay. Nice. Yeah, it's come a long way since I last, like, it was all gray box, I think, yeah. No. Looks cooler. Let's create a plane because nothing can beat plane things. It should be this, and this is 1, this is 3, so it's 0.7. However, the center is the center is center, right? This is the origin. So we want to move this like this. Let's look at it from the top. If my measurements are correct, I should be typing 0.3 or minus this. Where did I mess up? Yeah, okay, I'm not taking into account the thickness. If I do 8 here, it's gonna do it on both ends. I think last time I did this, I changed the offset. See, here's the problem. So we keep changing it in the Y, but here if I change Y, it's the wrong axis. I should be changing it in Z. There's always some axis confusion, no matter what. It's not intuitive. A bit newer stuff. Let me open that too, so folks can see it. And I just noticed that the Restream is outputting my old chat thematic messages. This week I'm not doing advent of code problems. I'm working on a new game. I'm just going to disable that particular one. This is good enough. So this looks the lava level. Okay, this looks like how do you enter this level though? From like jumping down? If you run up like this, jump. First pick is the level I'm working. Cool. Okay. Yeah, work in progress. Gotcha. Okay. Sense. Cool. Oh no. Code bug got you. Cool. Yeah, the AI stuff is always difficult. That's something I'll have to deal with, like, not today. Speaking of which, I'm gonna go back to the game and see if I can actually fix this center point. So what do I want to do here? So if I recall, my circle is 30 centimeters. So if I position my center point, so I have if this is 0.8, okay, slowly doing the math. Yeah, I was gonna say this should be in the opposite. And then, gotcha. And the dimensions are off because this should have been 7, I believe. If not 7.5. So I want to give some thickness. Means this should be 25. Perfect. So you want to offer promotion of my channel viewers. Well, that sounds like spam to me. What do you guys think? Should I take action? So we want to conditionally render this or not. So there is still going to be forward concept here. So let's say if X is going to be north, this is actually kind of west or left. Yeah, I used to see a lot of these offers. Sorry, bud. Just ban and forget. Yeah, that's it. There is a fine line between unsolicited and borderline scummy. Because in life there are gray areas. It's like when you invite your friends, they come to your house. They are not invading your house. You have the freedom to ask them to leave the house, otherwise they are trespassing. But in the first place, you invited them. However, the mail carrier or a delivery person will also come to your door unannounced because you won't know beforehand when they are going to show up. You don't just take your shotgun and, you know, kill the guy, right? So it's a gray area. So it's still unsolicited, unexpected, unannounced. However, you don't just go nuts on everybody who shows up at your door. But if the guy is trying to, you know, sell something, yeah. So maybe that's where I draw the line. So get out. Oh. So basically, yeah, like leaving a comment like, yeah, well, there's this stuff over there. Yeah, well, thank you, but no. So that kind of thing. There are some like sort of mutually agreed upon, you know, like sort of social contracts. You know, you give people enough benefit of the doubt and that's enough, that's it. Otherwise, like, no. This may be too thick, so this is going to be even more thick unless I put a 0 here. Okay, so this is going to show up now in up there, in here, as soon as I introduce a node marker. I'm going to introduce something smart. So I'm going to import the new node marker scene inside the old GLB, because the old one still has the right position. The new one inherits the position of its parent. If I introduced it into basically in the middle of nowhere, I would have to reposition it. Right now, all I have to do is I'll just move this up and then delete the old one. Now this will keep the old guy's position. So this will now have a node marker going left. Let's place another one. Let's do a north one. Or forward, for that matter. Now the forward one will be like this. And let's go check it out, forward. So this will be conditional soon. Let's duplicate these two. Just like that. If this is forward, this is backward. Just like my thinking sometimes it could be. Self-awareness is important. Here's the 4 markers. Now let's do the same trick for this one, marker. Get this out of that. So we want to build the connections here such that we will have these two and then these two. And maybe we'll put a marker here. Yeah, let's put a marker over there too. Another duplication. We'll put it here. Still a work in progress. Maybe don't remember how they did the oh, because in Hitman it's about reaching marker that is not covered by an object, or you kill a target which ends the level. Here my concept is maybe I'm supposed to reach this terminal. Maybe we'll put a special marker that is not exactly, you know, or fully covered by the object. So that's that. So how can I make this optional? Let's expose some variables. Export var left marker. Left marker is going to be a boolean. By default, false. and when it's set, update left marker or set left marker, doesn't matter. Let's get funky. Func value, and the value will be set to left marker, and we'll repeat this 3 more times. But the visibility of left mesh instance depends on the value too. I'm going to copy this like that. This should be right marker, why not? Left, forward, right, backward, forwards. This is because forward comes after left, it should be the order. Let's shamelessly duplicate all this too. This one is this one is that, and this one is this again. Forward, right, backwards. Also, forward marker is gonna come here, right marker is gonna be here, backward marker is gonna be here. Because if I miss those things, we'll be here until cows come home and I won't know what is causing the problem. That's the problem with copy and paste. You think you are done, but you are messing things up. I'm putting tool here so that I will know what I'm doing. It's almost always wrong, but I will at least see what I'm doing, if not knowing what I'm doing. So here's the first marker. In fact, it's kind of wrong anyway. So I expected them to be invisible, but why should they? Now they kind of turn invisible here because this tool script kicked in and set them to false, which kind of triggered this and it's all done. But in the main scene, they are still not like that. That's because let's just reload the project. Okay, this is the expected behavior. I guess maybe I have to re-import them. Who knows? Anyhow, so let's do proper sort of on and off. So we want to connect the left marker, the right marker, or the path. This is not a marker. Call it left marker, right marker, I don't care. And this one only has right. So this is done. And it resets. The fact that it was actually showing wrong in the first place and it resets to this, I am probably probably missing something here. I think this might be a good moment for me to take a tea break, which doesn't mean I'm putting the break screen on. Just gonna quickly go to the kitchen and boil water and come back in a few minutes. Leave the screen on and the music on. So talk to you in a few minutes. Sorry, I'm back. Let's see. Well, the chat has gone quiet. I hope everybody's okay, or I hope the chat functionality is working, unlike last week. So, Art Fiend, I think you had a question, but I'm not sure if you asked your question. Maybe you did, maybe I missed. Let me know. If it's within my power, I would like to answer it. Let's turn off the night So when this script runs, it's well, I suppose I can just manually turn them off. That's it. Now, yeah, so I had to manually turn them off. It actually did the trick. So for that, I had to walk away a bit, I guess. Smarten up. So the graphical versus programmatic part is, as far as player is concerned right now, you as a player, you should get the idea that this capsule can only move forward. We will know that by this pulsing indicator. And or the fact that there is actually a line going to this node. But we did this in a hard-coded way, right? So what if the data layer, the data structure, which we don't have, painted this picture for us? So programmatically we said, from this tile you can go to this tile, some coordinate system, and these flags are automatically done for us. That would be the ideal case. However, that would mean that we write some kind of data structure or some kind of another layer where we have no visual feedback. We are basically saying like a long list of exposed variables. I don't know, should we have a dictionary or an array here? That a particular item is representing a floor piece, then we kind of connect them and we say, okay, on and off, this goes to that, that goes to this, and whatever. Based on that, do we paint this? Which is kind of undermining the whole effort of like visually doing things, right? What if the visual system fed data layer? We kind of plan things out visually. We say, well, from here you can go that way. These names could change. They are a little bit arbitrary, because for this guy to, we talk about left or right is, we were just discussing earlier whether this axis, positive x is north, positive z is right. And in fact, we kind of like, I kind of did it that way right now. Left and right, yeah, left and right. Right is blue. We could call that east marker, doesn't matter. But we sort of usually do this, and then these markers define the data structure. So the player, as far as the code goes, it knows that it can only move westward or left bound, right? It can only go this way. Since it can only go that way, the players, these 4 markers won't be lit, only 1 marker will be lit. So it's going to be conditional, something like this. Because Let me fix those names here too, because I think we are kind of converging that decision with what we did in the other scene. So positive x is forward. That is forward. This is right. This is left. This is backward. Okay, so if this is correct, which is okay, yeah, we can only go left. That's my confusion. I should actually have left lit. Save. That's it. Okay, left. Because this is kind of my angle. I want to think this is forward, but it's not. Technically, this is left. Because as I was saying, X is forward. The opposite of blue is left. Blue is right. So this left marker should be lit. In other words, you can only go left, which makes sense. And by going left from here, tile-wise, it's gonna land on this floor piece. And this guy can only accept left or right entrances. So it's sort of getting there. It's getting there. So let's check the stream goals. Let's see if I have made a tremendous amount of progress. Movement mechanics for MR.E, kinda, somewhat, I don't know, 40-50% done. Level design 1 is almost finished. We could actually pull this off. We can do 2 and 3 today. I don't know how long I'll stream. But let's figure out the movement logic. Now, ideally, this should not be hard-coded either. This should be, or any other tree, should be turned on or off based on something that is aware of node markers as well as the player. Something that relies on event bus. Where is event bus? Event bus. So we need more signals here. We could actually come up with some silly names for now. Activate left marker. Then we could have deactivate left marker. And we can do better. We can do toggle left marker. So we could pass on or off. And we could be smarter. We could say, well, just toggle marker. And it's either left, right, whatever, or and on or off. While we are doing this, we gotta be precise about which marker we are talking about. This is possibly the only place where we can make an exception. Because you could just say toggle marker and then pass whether it's the player marker or node marker, but two different systems are going to subscribe to the signals here in event bus. Would be stupid to have two systems sign up on something central only to be notified at the same time and only run half of the time. So in other words, if both node and player scenes are subscribed to this event, then for which object we are going to toggle the marker, the node will basically check, oh, am I going to be updated? What is passed as the object to be, whatever. So I think this will make much more sense. Implementing it at the finest level, but this is one place where we don't have to be any more optimization over this is just counterproductive. So let's simulate this. We will simulate this by coming into markers and turning even the left one off. Then I will do something as silly as event bus connect. Actually, this is not the silly part yet. Toggle player marker self on toggle player, or it could just be toggle player marker. It's a function. Let's get funky. So this is going to be passed which marker? This is going to be one of these. You don't need to pass objects here. We could just pass strings. But then the strings are kind of mapped to directions, which brings me to a whole other notion of keeping enums as a singleton. So enum directions left, forwards. Again, this can be north or whatever later. This is why we are doing this, so we can change it really backwards. Let's make you auto load. Where did I save this? I saved it in the root. Of course, when you do it like that, it's a little bit inconvenient. So back to player GD. So which is basically an enum. Don't give the type yet. So this is the toggle. It's either on or off. So let's write a match. The match will be based on enum's directions. So if it's let's start with the left one again. If it's left, then we do left visible, and that should be based on what the toggle variable is bringing for the space here. So this is gonna be forward, right, backwards. Similarly, this is backward, right, forward. This is it. So by default, everything is off. By the way, because we are now changing the visibility of those markers, we don't need to play them when needed. They should always be playing anyway. So that means pulse should auto start. So that's kind of nice. Although we have the toggle player marker, nothing is going to happen. In fact, all the markers are gone. For now, I'm going to activate forward marker, which is going to be facing this way, because I think that's easier to see than this one, facing this way. And we do that by, normally I don't do this, but for now, I think it's okay enough. Get tree, go. You almost hit it. Get tree, create timer, 1 second. Just 1 second, and timeout. Then sort of be cheeky about this. Emit signal, toggle player marker, and this is where we pass arguments. Which one we want to trigger? We want to trigger the forward one, and we want to pass true, and that's toggle boolean here. Okay, so we launch, wait for 1 second, then nothing happens. Do you even happen? You do even happen. Okay. When we emitted the signal, this is the same, right? Yeah, not player marker. Did this happen? This even happen? It does happen. So then but what am I bringing in here? Which and toggle. 1 and true. So 1 is I think 0, 1. So the chat went quiet. I'm not sure whether there's a technical mistake just like last week, or everybody has gone home. It might be possible. Just quickly check the stream feed. Yeah, I think everything should be good. Fine. So if you are joining right now, I'm still unsure whether the chat functionality is broken or not, so let me know by typing hello. Otherwise, enjoy the stream. So we do get the forward one. That value 1 before true is the index of the enum. We should change the visibility. You could even do it like this, say, okay, You are here. You do this, but you also do something else, like this. That should fire. The fact that it didn't is concerning. Let's put this back on and let's pass left. We are getting 0. Okay, let me launch pause. Go to remote, game level players, markers. For example, left should be invisible now. After here, we expect it to, okay, we expect to see this visible on after I let the game run. Sorry, pause, remote, left, unpause, let me change this to forward again. I expected this to run. Remote, forward, visible, go. Is fired. This did not fire. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, yeah. Oh, so, dumb mistake. I knew what was supposed to be the decision mechanism. You don't, like, what's the match here? What am I trying to match against? I'm trying to match which against the following list of directions. Otherwise, I'm checking the data structure itself to its components. Because this could just be direction anyway, right? Doesn't matter, like, which direction. Yeah, match that direction to one of these directions. I had enum's directions here as the item to match, which is dumb. So this will work now. So wait a second, and then you have the marker. That's fine. So now that could be left with the proper logic when it's supposed to be really left, instead of hard coding it like this. This is a test case. So the next thing is to write the layer where the game knows which paths are, which nodes should be connected. And based on that, whether the player markers could be visible or not. So ideally, in my mind, there will be a layer where a layer sort of unaware of the player, and the nodes sort of semi-aware. Like there should be the player should not know kinda where. Kind of thinking. Something higher level should dictate the player where the movable tiles are. Based on that, these markers will be lit. Similarly, something visual will tell that higher level layer what the walkable paths are. And taking this a step further, in the case of Hitman, trying to find something simple. Well, actually, a lot of them are simple enough, but this I think view is also good. Let's pick this one. So at the beginning, this let's call it level manager is gonna say to our player, you know, you could move this way, this way. So let's assume our guy moved this way. There's actually a node here. This node can only go backward or forward. You cannot go this way because there's no line here. However, when our guy moves forward according to his direction, as soon as this security guard sees our guy reachable, you know, come and capture us. So I'm kind of thinking of the next states, because when our player comes to this node, it is not enough to only know whether he can move this way, that way, or back. Something should basically tell the game or the level manager, whatever, we are going to be busted. In the case of snipers coming to their line of sight, even though they are many tiles away, we should be busted. So this means, let me see if I can simulate that example without going too far back. So in other words, a node should hold some kind of information which is dynamic, such that if the player ends up there, under some conditions, it is not a good condition, it is not a good choice for the player. They are going to be busted. So 1, 2, and then we are going to be busted. So this node doesn't need to be occupied by this guy. It needs to know that if we end up here, we are going to be busted. So we can trigger animations, reloading the level, end of game, score, whatever we want to do, right? So then nodes should kind of have some kind of knowledge about their surroundings, but that also means in some cases many tiles away. So in other words, this node should know if there is nothing that breaks the line of sight, this sniper will kill us. So it's not just walkable or not, it's also other effects as well. Let's check a few things in case asking for confirmation. Okay. Not needed anymore. Bye. So can I do the movement mechanic with a few more steps here, or worrying about the obstacles or the remote knowledge of obstacles? So in Hitman, this is what they did. I believe there's some area here. Regardless, kind of hold the mouse down and drag it this way, and moves your character forward like this. And from here, you can hold down and drag it this way or this way. Maybe it's a better deal with handheld controllers, but in PC it's the drag and sort of drop. It's just drag. So we could try to simulate that. I believe area node has that. So in player, we try a few things here. It's tempting to put static body, but this is what I like about collision object. You could easily detect mouse entered and exited. So we could be doing something like, well, okay, so the mouse is right over me, and then to detect if the click is happening, holding down and moving it, which is the input event. And based on the delta, X or Z, as Y is up, we could just deduce, okay, one of those directions. Now, we could get 4 directions, and only a few of them, if not only one, is possible. So if the player can only move forward and right, if the character can only move forward and right, but if the player is actually dragging it in the opposite directions or in the other not good directions, we could ignore that. That's something to worry about a bit later. So for area, just area, I tend to say area 3D because it's in it's labeled like the Godot 4. So this is now complaining because this has no shape. Hitting a collision shape polygon as a child. So let's add a shape, and this shape needs a body, which is basically shape itself, which is going to be maybe a box, right? Why not? So this box, it could be a box as big as this, honestly. It's just this, it's 1 by 1. It's as big as the tile itself. I don't think it's something to worry about. Maybe, I don't know, do it this way. Be a bit more gentle. Doesn't matter. The mouse will be here anyway. And maybe later we'll make this kind of as tall as the tile itself. So right now, this doesn't have any effect. So I think up until this point, it's the same structure. Yeah. And we have the collision object, which is kind of part of the area. So let's do mouse entered in player. We'll do a simple print all here. We'll say I don't know, yay, the player is interested in me. And let's also do the exited case. Let's call player is no longer with me. So when we run it, we come here, enter its area, it's the yay, we exit, it's not good. That way, if you want to run some other animations, some highlights or whatever, that's fine too. Now, holding the mouse down is the interesting case. For that, I think we do input event, and then I will investigate possibly the first one when we collide with other objects, things like that. And for that, I'm gonna bring up this example again. I already talked about this example, but now is a good time to bring it up again. Now, if you come this way and be in line of sight of this guy, you're gonna be busted. But the trick with this level is you go this way, take this stone, throw it here. It's going to create sound as large as this area, 3 by 3. The guard will come and investigate the sound. By that time, you will be here. So now you have 2 possibilities. One is when this guy comes here, he's gonna wait. He's not gonna go around and check more. he's gonna wait. So you come here. The guard will not move, but the guard will be facing this way. So from here, you can attack the guy from the side and kill. That's one option. Or you sneak behind him and you do the same thing. Either way, your area node will be detecting another area enter signal, and you'll check like whether, okay, it's an enemy. Yes, it is enemy. In what condition is the enemy, like facing sideways or away from you, so you'll knock them out, things like that. If I believe there are some cases in Hitman, it is possible that at the end of your last turn, if a guard comes one tile away from you, still facing you, you could still take them out, but you cannot do so if they are wearing armor or they're holding a shield. But otherwise, from every direction, you could take simple guards out. With the shielded ones, it has to be from side or back, so their conditions will also be checked, but that's a future concern. That's going to happen in area entered. So we are going to have a similar structure without the markers. For enemy units. So for now, one thing we can do is this input event. Let's just do that. It comes with a lot of things here. So if event is pressed or action pressed, so I believe UI down is no, the UI down is the arrow down. What was the left mouse? Is there anything here with mouse? Device, enter, select this space, which is sort of this. Left, right, up, down, page up. We do not have anything. Okay, gotcha. So action. I could say left click. Normally I tend to write the purpose instead of the what's the name for it? Physically describing the button. Mouse button, left button. Because I'm creating kind of a complex event here. Left click, because left click is not enough by itself. So let's see, it's not enough by itself, because we'll be here, we'll be left clicking, but what I want to do is this: left click down and then drag and then do something. And in fact, that player is no longer with me is sort of redundant, because you could still be leaving the or stop doing the left click without exiting the area. So these two will be removed later. Actually, maybe we'll keep this, but most likely we'll remove this. So you might be asking, like, maybe even like this one is not needed, because this is not a precursor to knowing this. You could still be detecting left click without worrying about. This must happen anyway for this to happen. But again, this is like maybe run other functions. If I recall this from other exercises from years ago, if event action press is left click, then event also has some kind of what was the, like some kind of, not delta, but some kind of it holds numerical value. Input event which was specific to the mouse event. I don't see it here because from resource we get input event. Input event mouse. Okay, that's what I was. Input event with modifiers that leads to input event mouse. Okay. Position. One of these, at some point I was able to get the change, the delta, in which axis it's changing. Why can't I get that here in by the way, when we do this without left click, you should still get some kind of motion. Going to be input event mouse motion. That's it. Input event mouse motion had the motion of the directionality. Now I'm holding the mouse down. When I drag it, it still will fire input event mouse motion. And in that motion, we are going to have this one. We are going to have the relative change. The mouse position relative to the previous position at the last frame. So we are basically detecting left click and some drag operation. Something that is like maybe, I don't know, more than 10 pixels, 10 units, whatever. In terms of vector, like it's going to output some kind of like values, some 0 point blah blah, right, numbers. So there's going to be some kind of interval that we will deem as, yeah, that's enough dragging, and it will look like the player is favoring one direction more so than the others. That direction will be passed into the event bus and will basically move the player character in that direction if it's viable. So that's the goal. So let's see, how do I get input event? So in action left click, do I still get that? I do not, because now the event is actually mouse button. In 2D, in control nodes, you can actually do can drag. There's something like that. We are trying to create that manually here. Problem is this. It's kind of a chicken and egg problem. Input event mouse motion, right? If I do if event, there's no such thing as type. If event is input event mouse motion. This is when we are moving, then left clicking. You kind of want to do the reverse though. When we left click and then. But now the first if is actually firing. I'm not printing anything, but I know that it's, I know like for sure. Now I'm going to left click and I'm still dragging, not firing anything. Just left click, which kind of defeats the purpose because the moment I left click, I'm not moving. Like you cannot move and left click at the same time. The moment you click, there is no motion. So that's why, in my mind, this should be the other way around. But when you click and move around, it's a similar idea. This is now kind of blocking it. That is why I think there's a difference between is action pressed and is action. Because when you say is action pressed, it blocks the execution. If exact match is false, which is this, which is false by default, it ignores additional input modifiers, such as these two. This one turns true if the given action is being pressed, and it's not an echo event for input event key events, unless allow echo is true. Not relevant for events of type input event mouse motion. So I kind of remember passing one of these, either using one or the other with a parameter true. Exact match is false, it ignores additional input modes. Okay, let's try this one. Exact match. Let's try the pressed. I will alternatively look into type as well. I think this might have been what I tried. Um, so regardless of this, if it's left clicked, put event mouse button. This is kind of where things are blocked. I think this is where I'm keeping maybe position here. Var last clicked position. Something like this. This is going to be some kind of vector 3. Okay. So when we are here, this position, actually anywhere we are in this area, this is our position. So first do this. So here's the position, okay? So from somewhere here, we're gonna click and drag. The fact that y is 0.14 is actually consistent because that's the height of the floor tiles, or where my character is. More specifically, that's where the area is. Collision shape is. There are of course some approximations here and there. I think that's this margin. So, in other words, we always do the last position, the position of this input event. Now, when we left click, technically this is where we can do the last click position. We just pressed somewhere. We cannot press outside this input area, right? So you press somewhere inside. Here's the position. You store it. This is when you do left click. Then we are going to leave the we are going to release the mouse. There is no such thing as releasing the mouse in the input map. It's one and only event. Now here is where we do the event pressed or is pressed or not. So if it's left click and is pressed, it's this. In fact, this could actually be let me refresh my memory about this. Returns true if this input event is pressed. So how was I able to detect the button up? Input event mouse button. Yeah. Pressed. Yeah. So input event mouse button. Pressed. Which is actually is pressed. So it kind of goes back to this. Is pressed. That's a shortcut. So if it's pressed, do this. Else, just gonna say something silly. And we'll deal with this later. So here you come. Yay, the player is interested in me. Holding down. I probably registered last clicked thing position. I will drag that way and release the mouse. Nothing happens. So let's put a print statement here. Registered last position. This should be registered last position. I dragged and removed. Which is again similar because this when this fires, this is not continuously firing, so it doesn't check this the first time and then executes the whole thing again only to fall under this. Otherwise we would have seen thousands of like registered last position calls too. So this is when I kind of slow down and I need a rest, but then stupidly I will push forward. So we get silly even, but it's not pressed. I'm going to press 1, registered last position, and I'm going to move forward. That's silly, which means we are kind of getting somewhere. Maybe 5 more minutes, then I'll wrap up. So we are keeping the position, registered last position. We registered at some point when I click, then I move. When I move, we still have position. You can actually do something like if current position minus or current position's distance square 2, so that way it's always positive, right? We don't want to worry about I don't think distance is giving you negative. It might if it's giving you vector. No, it's a float. Fine. Distance to last click position. If the distance is more than, I don't know, 0.1, say silly. I have no idea what that magnitude is. So apparently it is. By the way, this is happening so continuously that it's updating very constantly, right? Like as I'm moving, it actually puts silly all the time anyway, right? which means it's actually always more than 0.5. Seems too high, and yet it's still succeeding. Well, I think now is a good time to finish, even though I said a few more minutes. But let's recap. So this week I worked on kind of a clone of Hitman Go, which is this a board game. You move between nodes, between points, either get busted by security guards or not. So in my game, I'm going to have a sci-fi theme where you are playing a robot. There are story elements. So its or his name is Mr.E. So you're kind of gonna try to solve a mystery. This guy believes his name is actually Mr. E. So this robot thinks of itself as a person, and there will be a reason for that. So there will be sort of double entendres like that, and some narration. So you will be solving puzzles in levels. This is going to be our first level. And so far in this episode, I did floor markers and the players' moving markers. And now I'm at that point where a higher level code structure should decide on things. So we can either move the player in a certain direction or block its movement. The first level won't introduce any enemy mechanics, but movement mechanics is already difficult enough. We will check whether the player is reaching the console here. So that will conclude the first level, and we'll have many more levels. And I'm pretty sure there will be some fun and extra challenges along the way. So most likely I'll be continuing this topic in the next streams. For now, seems once a week still a good frequency, and I'll probably make more progress, and then maybe increase the number of streams to twice a week. But that kind of concludes this week's stream. So I just see one person join the stream. The number, it might be a little bit kind of, I'm right at the end, I'm wrapping up. So I'll see you next week. Maybe you're one of the previous viewers. If not, if you are brand new, so welcome and goodbye, and then I'll talk to you next week. Oh, it's you, Art Fiend. Okay.